Good morning, I'm Stefan Baciu, one of the greatest writers alive, and today I'm going to be reading a little bit of Kostas Karyotakis poetry and telling you a bit about his life. So in case if you don't know who this guy was, like me last week, best Greek poets to have ever lived, a modernist poet, but with a neo-symbolist bent. He lived in the first quarter of the last century. He was born in 1896 and died in 1928, a very short life. He committed suicide at 32, the age that I'm now, by trying to drown himself in the sea behind me. Not exactly this sea, or this part of the sea, but it was still the Aegean Sea. He tried to commit suicide by drowning himself, and failing so, he shot himself in his chest at 6 a.m. Now it's 7 a.m. at the time of this recording, so it was around this time. Probably the sun wouldn't have been this high up in the sky. It was in the same period where now the time of this recording is 11th of July. He committed on the 21st of July 1928. And let me read you the last poem he ever wrote, which is called Prevetsa. It was the prefecture he was assigned to as a civil servant. He was quite unhappy with that life because there was a lot of corruption at the time, like in a lot of civil service all over the world. One of his main obsessions is death, probably his main obsession, and this is obvious here. And here goes. Death is the crows on the tiles, beating against the black walls. Death, the women that are loved as if they're peeling onions. Death, the directionless roads, dirty with bright, shiny names. The olive groves and the sea around, even the sun. Death among deaths. Death, the policeman rapping to check the grocer's short measure. Death, the balcony flowers and the teacher with his paper. Garrison, base, petty legion, Prevetsa. On Sunday we'll hear the band. I opened a savings account, deposited 30 cents. Slowly walking the quay. Do I exist? You say, then you don't. The ferry arrives, flying flags. Perhaps Mr. Perfect has come. If at least among all these people, just one were to die of disgust, silently sad with respect, we would rejoice at his grave. Very Suranian, in the style of Emile Cioran, my co-national. Dry wit, morbid obsession, and poetry, musicality. Death becomes like a refrain, like an anthem. And my favorite image in the whole poem is the sun, death among deaths. The sun is burning right now. It's burning half of my face and I can feel the destructive power of it, even though it's a life giver. And it's funny, I said that this is the last poem he wrote, but I think the last poem he wrote was his suicide letter. And I'm not going to read it all, but the postscriptum is very funny. Let me read it to you. And to change the tone, I advise those who know how to swim never to employ the sea as a means of suicide. All last night, for 10 hours, I was beaten by the waves. I swallowed copious amounts of water, but without my knowing how, every so often, my body came back to the surface. Sometime when I get the chance, I shall write the impressions of someone drowning. Funny guy. And he, despite all his family's funniness and his humor, that was clearly an avoidance mechanism. He was a person who lived very intensely. He says so in his last letter, in his suicide letter. He says that he wanted to taste everything from life that life had to offer. He had a morbid curiosity, but he also had a nostalgia of existence, and this is very obvious in the title, from the title of the last poem I'll read, second last poem I'll read, which is titled "Only," in the Greek mono. Ah, everything had come as it came, that the hopes and the roses fall, the boats leave, the years that they leave go out. Thus, as we used to go our ways in the evenings, so many friends would be forever lost. The land where I grew up a child would be left some twilight. The simple girls, lovely girls, oh loved ones, that life should take from them in the ring dance of time, that even now the pain once so fragrant, barren, weigh me down. Everything had to happen, only the night need not be so sweet. Now as it is that the stars play there like eyes, as if laughing to me. A beautiful image, the stars as if eyes laughing at me. And in Greece here, especially if you're at the sea, the sky is very beautiful, very clear, full of stars, but here the eyes are laughing at him. He sees there's this laugh that is both comforting in a sense but painful, which is like life. He had a very deep way of looking at things. He loved very intensely. He had a love affair with Maria Poliodori, and even before that he was heartbroken because he loved a girl in high school who married another man. And he contracted syphilis, and he says in his letter that he was sick, but a lot of people assume that it was also narcotics. Still, we never know. Life is but the base substance from which art springs, and to look at the material and ignore the finished product is we're missing the point as readers. I think so. That's gossip column. Art is, and he has something very interesting to say of a writer's career in the poem titled "Career." Career. I shall set my flesh and blood in a large format book. These verses are promising, will be the paper's opinion. From a well-known critic, and beside it my own name. Once again my body and soul I shall give to the work. The struggle. But with the setting of the sun I shall go down to Vasilous. There I shall find all the other writers and teachers. My words shall have substance, my silence a meaning. Hunting the eternal years, I shall let the years pass. They shall pass, and my heart will be like a rose that I trampled down. And that's the thought that I'm going to leave you with. You know, in the ring dance of time, and he says in his earlier poem, you know, chasing glory, chasing the approval of critics as a writers, we miss the point. We trample down the robes of our souls, because the beauty of things, you know, it's in the passing things, in what's temporary. And arguably we're all temporary, everything is temporary, but some things, you know, are obviously so, and we know it, and we chase external measures, but they're meaningless if we look at the eternal sea, the sun, death among deaths. So go out there, live your life, take care of the rose of your heart as long as you can. Because if you're chasing something external, it's as meaningless as in a game of playing cards. Karyotakis has a very funny poem in which he said, 20 years playing books instead of cards, I have gambled my life away and I'm now poor. So everything is a gamble, but beautiful things, they're beautiful even if they're temporary. This is the last idea that I have to say. Subscribe if you enjoyed this video, check out my work on Nether Street Blues, and until next time, much love, Fane.